just you and me. Change, yeah, change, can't do it alone. I need some help, y'all. Can't do it alone. Won't get no better if we just let it be. No, 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 no.
Welcome to Truth Forum, a truth forum like we do at home at the kitchen table. I'm your host, Dr. Smith. I will continue to lead relatable and honest conversation. My guests will range from community leaders, professional and real people whose stories will touch and inspire you. I do have the right to perform the songs, the notes, and the lyrics licensed by BMI. Discussion will center around relationships and real stories and personal struggles and amazing triumphants, compelling topics in the news, even pop culture that may capture our city and nation's attention. If you would like to be a guest at the kitchen table, you can call us at 269-282-1490. Email us at kingdombuildersworldwide2@gmail.com. My vision is we want to catalyze, energize, and bring people together. We want to share some things that are extremely essential. In other words, without a network, we'll never know who we are and what we are and even where we're supposed to go. Reawakening African people, I intend to do, is to help us take our place along the world aside like everyone else. That's what they did in Africa. They would sit down and they'd just share the story with their children. It's important that we have storytelling time, where it's at that moment we share with our children so our children don't always repeat the mistakes maybe we have made. I'm excited today to introduce my guest, but before I do that, I always like to thank our producers, Tiffany Smith, Ronnie Hoyt, Carl English, and Mike Campbell. We have a new person on Facebook Live, Terrence Todd's daughter, Destiny. Cameron Yvonne Armstrong and Kara Bolden, and of course my main man, co-host, Doug Jones. Again, our guest today, no stranger to the city, no stranger to the state, no stranger to Washington, D.C. None other than my friend, Terrence Pastor Todd. All right, y'all. All right. I was just sharing in the green room, in the back room, while we were having some discussion that this is Mr. Todd, third time on the show. You that's watching us on Facebook Live, we do apologize. So maybe you can just like turn your head or like, move your phone. But we still feel we can have a great dialogue and we want you to chime in. The conversation is going to be a little different. Pastor Todd is not aware of the things we're going to share with him or with you. But I think it's going to be a great conversation. For the sake of everyone else, if this is your first time, I always like to introduce them. So real briefly, my co-host, what's happening, Deacon Doug Randall Jones?
Having a good day, Bishop.
Having a good day?
Good day, yep. Very good sermon today, too.
Who preached?
Enjoyed it. Bishop Tino Smith, you know the guy? Ever heard of him?
I know.
Okay, all right.
You pray for the bishop.
I will pray for him.
He's having a hard time.
As long as he prays for me, I'll pray for him.
Thank you.
All right.
Was Deacon Butter at church Sunday?
Butter was there. Deacon
was.
Butter. Deacon Butter.
All right. And so we are just grateful that we're here today. And Todd, just for a minute, man, just give us briefly who you are. You got some beautiful ladies in the studio today. So just tell us briefly who you are and some of your family members, and we'll get into what you do and where you're trying to go and all those great things.
Gotcha. Thanks, Bishop, first of all, for having me here. Like I said, my name's Terrence Todd. Born and raised here in the city of Battle Creek. Third son of a single mom, Pearline Todd. I'm the youngest of three boys. Married to one wife, my wife, Karen Lynn Todd. She's from the state of Ohio. We won't hold that against her. I have three beautiful daughters.
She's a Buckeye,
man. Yeah, she's a Buckeye, but we working with her.
Okay.
Three beautiful daughters, man. Destiny, who's a senior this year, Math Science Center, also Battle Creek Central High School. and also Naomi Lee Todd. She's a sophomore at Penfield, and also my 8th grade daughter, my baby, Tierney Lease. And so other than that, Bishop, that's pretty much it, man. And I'm sure we'll get into some more as we move on. So.
Absolutely. I first want to just remind you all that I think we started last year in February, and we'll be doing it again this year. We gave out awards to those unsung heroes.
Yes.
And your wife was one of the first recipients of that. And we talk a lot about Terrence Todd, but you have a great wife, and she's a great supporter, very intelligent. So we want to continue to give her a shout out. I believe she's in the studio audience. Do you see her?
Yeah, she's in the studio audience.
And we see so many people here in the audience. We just
a little dark
grateful
back
to
there,
see
but
you.
she here.
See you here. So we're going to talk about different things. We're going to talk about some politics.
Okay.
We're going to talk about some of the things that we are dealing with in our community. We're going to even talk about the Battle Creek Public School.
Yeah.
And then what I want you to do is I want you to give us your resume or your position as we deal with per subject.
Gotcha.
And then we're going to allow the audience, if need be, to ask Mr. Todd any questions. For those that don't know, there are times when you may hear we address him as Pastor Todd, and that is because he came up under my brother, Bishop Hugh Smith, at Emmanuel Covenant, and he was made or anointed as a pastor there. They have they deal with the fivefold ministries, and in the fivefold ministry, you could be a pastor in a local church. And matter of fact, you did actually do a little bit of pastoring in Lansing. So tell us briefly about that first.
Yeah, actually, I'm glad you brought that up because my wife and I, when Bishop had actually gone to the east side of the state to senior pastor of Embassy Covenant Church over in Troy, we were also one of the ones that were sent out to go and plant a ministry in the city of Lansing. We were actually in East Lansing, right down the street from Michigan State University. So my wife and I actually had a campus ministry at Michigan State called the Green Pasture Campus Ministry. That was our name. And then we ended up getting on campus. We were on radio for a year there. We were actually slated to do television there as well, kind of similar to this, as a matter of fact. And but we also had an office just east of campus on Grand River in Hagedorn. So we had an office there as well. Tommy Kirk and Margaret Kirk were there with us, and some others that were there with us as well. So that's how we ended up landing there. And as the rest of the story is that I ran for office hoping to had landed there, and things didn't work out. So Bishop came back to us and said, hey, let's regroup, let's continue to pray and seek the Lord, and go from there. So we ended up being back here in Battle Creek. So. Yeah.
So basically, from a spiritual perspective, we'll be like a spiritual uncle to him. So
Yes,
when
sir.
I throw out questions, I'm still going to throw out questions like a journalist would do, but none of the things are personal because it's to entertain and also educate the audience. So because he's been on the show 3 times, we're going to just throw out some really questions that a lot of folks have asked. The first question is, Pastor Todd, many people. First of all, you are a Republican.
Correct.
Many people felt that the Democrats did you wrong, and that's the only reason why you joined the Republican Party. Break that down, and you got your chance to prove to everybody else that's not really how it went down. I'm being a journalist today.
No, I got you.
So I threw that
got
hard question at you, didn't I? That was a Larry King Live question.
Yeah, that was Larry King. Yeah, it wasn't hard.
Oh, it wasn't hard?
No,
Okay.
it wasn't real hard because I've talked about it before. But I can go.
Not on this show, you haven't.
Huh?
Not on this show.
No, not on this show.
Right.
No,
This is
not
the
on
only show that counts.
Gotcha. That's
Yeah,
it.
go ahead, talk
all
to
right.
us.
That's all that matters. No, it wasn't so much, Bishop. To be honest with you, it wasn't so much about the local Democrats actually doing me wrong. I mean, that's part of it. But keep in mind, my heart started to shift about back in 2012. To be honest with you, and when it started shifting was when at the Democrat National Convention, they struggled with putting God into their platform. So that's what really started to open my eyes up. At the request of President Obama, as a matter of fact, they were proposing to add God into their platform and also to acknowledge Jerusalem as the capital of Israel. Well, at their convention, as they passed it through, they pushed it through, they were supposed to get a 2/3 majority voice vote off the floor. They did not get that, but they pushed it through anyway, and the crowd began to boo. They booed that proposal getting pushed through and then I struggled with, I said, okay, well, did they have an issue with putting God into the platform, or did they have an issue with it being President Obama proposing that, putting God into the platform and recognizing Jerusalem as capital of Israel? And I said, maybe it was a little bit of both. So that's what kind of opened my eyes. But then also that same year, you know, it's 2012, that was when Obama was up for re-election for a second term. What also had happened here locally, I had gotten a call from some of the mothers here in town about a situation that had happened here at the local Democrat campaign office where they were looking for Obama signs, yard signs. And the local Dems didn't have any because obviously they didn't purchase any. But as those mothers had they said they kind of walked around, since they didn't have yard signs, they looked on their table and saw buttons of Obama and had him portrayed as a monkey. They said he had big ears on him and a tail on him like he's a monkey. So I get one of these mothers from Upton Avenue, to be honest with you, Upton Avenue, Original Church of God. They called me up. They said, I am done with the Democrat Party. I'm so upset. And then they explained all this to me. And I said, well, did you call the news? Did you, they said, no, they were too upset to even do that. So I said, okay, wow. So we have this going on as far as not wanting God into the platform. But then now locally we had a situation where they had buttons of Obama looking like a monkey. But then on top of that, then I was also noted when I ran in 2014, I was then told later that when they asked who we had to run for state representative, my name was brought up as being the top person, the top selection, and then another individual was brought up. But then the question was asked in this private meeting, are you sure we want somebody black on the top of the ticket? And I said, really? And they said, I swear to God, we don't do all that, but they said, I swear to God, that's exactly what they asked me in there. And so that's kind of what propelled someone else to kind of start shifting as well, because it's like, man, who is this that we're dealing with here? So other than that, Bishop, in 2014, as you know, when I ran, I announced in February that I was going to run. And then a month later, Andy Humboldt announced that he was going to run. So then that's when I knew they couldn't support me. And what troubled me was the fact that I'm like, wow, I had 10 years on the county board, a whole decade. So to me, the natural progression would be to go to the next level, which would be the state. Now, I would have been the first African-American to even do that. Well, lo and behold, when Andy Humboldt came out and announced, then that's when I knew that's who your Hosmas and Mark Showers and those guys were going to back him, even though Shower was running for governor, so he tried to play like he was going to stay neutral, but then I heard otherwise behind the scene that he wasn't. And so it was a culmination of a lot of things, Bishop, that allowed me to kind of shift. But most importantly, it was more so because they struggled with putting God into their platform and the whole issue with the Obama monkey buttons, and then having an issue with someone black being on the top of the ticket. That was my main issue. So then when Bishop Hugh, my bishop, your brother, called me up, because after Bison won that election, he called me up 5 days later and asked me to consider going to Lansing with him. And I said I needed to pray about it. And when Bishop called me up and said, this is what the Holy Ghost said do, then I knew I could cash that in. So I had to really pray about that.
Let's do this. I want you to help educate a lot of us who may not know.
Yeah.
Explain what you mean by platform. When you say that the Democrats, when you say Dem, he referring to Democrats.
Correct.
Explain to the audience what you mean when you say the Democrats had an issue making God their platform. What do you mean by platform?
What I mean by platform, a platform is basically the foundation of any party. It's what you stand for, it's what you believe, it's what you value.
Now, is there a way that I'm able to pull up the Republican platform?
Absolutely.
And is there a way that I can pull up the Democrat platform?
Yep. You can go.
Now, this is important, everybody, because why we're doing this is like a mission statement. You're going to always have politicians with great personalities. You're going to have some with dub personalities, but most of them are supposed to follow their platform.
Their platform, absolutely.
And sometimes we get caught up in the person and not know about the platform.
Correct.
So now, I'm not going to take him at his word, even though I believe him. But you should look up this website or whatever he's about to tell us to find out what is the platform the Democrats stand for and what is the platform the Republicans stand for. Because if I'm hearing correctly, which would be hard to believe, that the Democrats are taking God out the platform, that's hard to believe that. So let's see what this brother is still saying about that matter.
And really, you can go and Google it. You can type in Democrat Party platform. or even Republican Party platform, and then it should come up, and you should be able to click on it. Matter of fact, it'll be the platform of 2016.
So if anybody that's in the audience or if anyone that's watching the show, Google that throughout the show.
Right.
Maybe Doug, Deacon Jones can see it pop up that, hey, I found it. I really want someone inside the studio to let us know you got it. And I just want to see the beginning part of what they're both saying, because I've heard this many times. And a lot of times when you select a party, many folks never know the platform.
True.
It's almost like you go into a church and you don't know the mission of the church.
That's
You
right.
know, Kingdom Builders is a church that love everybody, but they do concentrate on trying to build black people.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean they don't like white people.
That's right, yeah.
Doesn't mean they don't like Hispanic. But it means that they're trying to build a group of people because they are the group that's suffering the most.
Yeah.
And see, that's a platform.
That's a platform.
But you're telling me the Democrat now, but this is my now, y'all. I'm being like I don't know him. I'm being like Larry King lied. If you knew the Democrats didn't have God in the platform, why were you a Democrat?
Well, because at the time, this was 2004.
So they can change platforms?
They can change platforms, absolutely. Their platform can change, absolutely.
So there was a time the Democrats had God in their platform?
I would believe so, but keep in mind, let's figure this out.
DJ, what you think about what I'm doing, DJ?
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Uh-huh.
So at the time that I got into the party, now keep in mind, I didn't belong to any party. So at the time that I got the call to get into politics to begin with, I didn't belong to any party, and so it was Marvin Austin. He had called me, remember Marvin? He called me up and he asked if I would consider to take his seat because he was getting married or whatever.
Okay.
So not looking up any platform, not looking up any of that stuff, looking up any mission statement or whatever, I had always just known that the Democrat Party was for middle class folks and was for, pro-African Americans and all that kind of stuff, diversity and all that. And so that's how I landed in. So I got basically ignorantly, unknowledgeable about what the platform was at that time in 2004.
Okay.
So fast forwarding in 2012, apparently somewhere along the lines, they must have taken it out, must have taken God out of that platform because Obama was proposing to put God back in the platform and to acknowledge Jerusalem as capital of Israel. So I'm like, wow, why would they struggle with putting God into their platform when I'm like, why wouldn't God already be in their platform? You know what I mean? So that's to let you know that's how I ended up getting into party, not looking at a platform. So that's when I saw that at their convention, that's what drew my attention to say, okay, man, I need to look at the platforms.
Okay.
So when I looked at the Republican platform, I'm like, okay, well, God is in their platform. And what really drew my attention or attracted me to that platform was because it was more so about limited government, less government involved, less taxes. But most importantly, it talked about how God is supreme to man. For example, on page 9 of this platform, it says that if man-made laws in the government, or the courts, should I say, come in conflict with that which is given by God or natural, then God prevails. So translation is that if our laws come in conflict with what God is saying, then God has the final say.
So quick question,
yes,
Terrence.
sir.
Was the platform really about what Obama was trying to do?
Yes.
Or was it about they just didn't want God in their platform?
And I'm glad you said it because I struggled with that because I'm like, and that's why I asked myself that question. I'm like, well, is it the messenger that they had an issue with, or did they really not want God into their platform? But they pushed it through anyway, I believe, because it was to appeal for Obama because he was up for re-election. You know what I mean? Because again, they needed a 2/3 majority voice vote, and they didn't get it. And that's, I think, why the crowd started to boo the fact that they pushed it through anyway. So they had to vote 3 times. But even after the 3rd time they voted, they still didn't get that 2/3 that they needed on the floor, and they pushed it through anyway. And then you hear the crowd start booing and stuff like that. So people came under great scrutiny, man.
Now, we have, in a couple of weeks, we have 2 candidates coming on the show.
Oh.
We have Mr. Hosman, and we have
Dave Morgan?
Dave Morgan.
Okay.
They're both running in the 62nd District.
Correct.
As a state representative. So now you mentioned about the Republicans and the Democrats. I want to know, have we ever had a black representative in 62nd District?
No.
On either party?
No, sir. No, sir. As a matter of fact, I think that's why.
Republican or Democrat?
No, sir. No,
Let me
sir.
get that clear. There hasn't been one African American in the history of the 62nd district.
Correct.
Republican or Democrat.
Correct. And that's why, Bishop, to be honest with you, when Bison asked me to go, that's why it was so powerful, because it made me the first to ever get there. Even though I didn't go as the representative, but Bison put a lot of trust in me to help guide him along the way, because I had been a county commissioner for 10 years, stuff like that. So when he looked at my resume, basically being, in county government, being in education, being in the ministry and stuff like that, that's what really compelled him to ask me to go, which was epic, because it was like, wow. So even when I said that I would go eventually, I still got a call from some folk, well, how you going with Bison? I said, easily, because it's not a slave trade, I'm going. You know what I mean? Like, it's a great opportunity, and plus this is what the Lord told me to do. So when I landed in that office, he gave me free reign, and as a matter of fact, when I left that office, he gave me free reign to select the next person, which was an African-American woman. I said, boom, we're gonna make history. And so when she ended up, when this young lady, Michael Warren, Michael Westry now because she's married, when she no longer was there, then Bison came and asked my wife now to go along with him. Now the thing they don't understand is that Bison has always had an African-American, the only one to always have an African-American from this district in his office. And in his medical office, there's an African-American woman that runs his medical office, that's been running it for like 8-9 years now, which a lot of people didn't know that.
And so, Bison is the Republican that's getting ready to run for
Senate,
what position?
State Senate. He's running for the State Senate. So he recently won his primary in August, and he's slated to run again for the general election November 6th. And so Dave Morgan is the one that's actually trying to fulfill that seat, as well as Jim Hosmer as well.
So now let me ask you this: for you all to be, you're a counselor, was a counselor, you have some seniors in high school that you may know, they were younger then. Why would you encourage a young African American senior in high school? Why would you suggest that she or he would consider being a Republican versus a Democrat? Let me hear your rationale. You got Melvin McKnight's daughter and Mary McKnight's daughter. She's on. A matter of fact, the court this year had all the young ladies were African Americans. I think we had one that may have been biracial, I think, or two. I'm not sure.
Oh, okay.
But the majority were all African Americans.
Yeah.
And Battle Creek Central have done very great things. But my question would be, if you had a chance to go and talk from a political point of view, assumingly their parents are Democrats.
Correct.
Why would you convince them, for their future's sake, why they should consider being with the Republican Party? No, first of all, would you do that?
Absolutely.
Okay,
I sure would.
So tell us why.
I sure would. Here's why I would say that. And see, with them, I'm gonna keep it simple, because at the core of what we believe and what we value, to be honest with you, most African Americans are conservative, no question about it. At the core of that means that our faith, our family, and our freedom. Faith in God, obviously, we believe that God is supreme to everything. Our family, obviously, the family values, traditional family, mother and father, that kind of a thing. But then also our freedom to be able to own a business per se.
Now I'm going to interject so we can keep going back and forth.
Okay.
Cannot a Democrat be the same person?
They can
As
be.
a Democrat, can you not believe in God? Can you not be free?
Absolutely.
Can you not have whatever you said, job?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. You can do all those things, but here's the deal. One of the things about Republicans, they're pretty much more traditional, if you will, meaning that when we talk about our faith, everything stops with God. You know what I mean? There's nothing as far as our policies, as far as things that we push forward. We believe that God will have the final say. Versus a Democrat, in my opinion, it seems like their agenda is more so trying to move God out the mix. They're trying to become more inclusive. They're trying to become more, accepting of whether or not you believe in God, if you don't believe in God, or if you believe in the sun, the stars, and the moons, or whatever. So it seems like they're leaning more towards getting further and further away from God when we look at the core of everything that they're doing. So me personally, I would go to those young people and basically say that if you believe that you should have limited government, in other words, government having less authority in your life, if you believe that parents should be able to decide what's best for their kids as far as like education, like I'm an educator. Most Dems are against school choice. Why is that? I'm a school choice kid. I went to Penfield. I got daughters at Penfield, but I also got a daughter at Battle Creek Central in the Math Science Center. But for many years, black folks didn't get a choice. But now we're saying that we shouldn't have a choice. You know what I mean? So how could they be against choice or us having a choice? You know what I mean? Whereas most Republicans believe that you should have a choice in that. When we talk about being pro-life, you know, the right to life, you know, protecting the unborn. Obviously, most of us are against abortion, like we, you know, had this conversation before. Most of us are against that. You know what I mean? Because God, even though, I mean, He's given us some authorities, but one authority He hasn't given us is to decide who lives and who dies. You know what I mean? So protecting the unborn, your Second Amendment rights, all that stuff. That's how we'll lay it out to them, Bishop. I mean, I think you have more freedoms here, especially when you start talking about limiting government. You know, government being involved in your life and having rule over you, less taxes. When people start tripping out because the federal government reduced the amount of taxes that people are paying. Who would argue paying less taxes? That's crazy. I know here in the state, Republicans push forward to have less tax or to reduce our income tax. Well, why would people blow up on that when back in 2007, they agreed to start reducing our income tax? You know, like, why would you argue with that? So you know what I mean? Like, you know, and this was done by Republicans. They were pushing to do that, and then they got shot down.
Right.
Auto insurance reform. Folks on the east side of the state voted against it. Why would you be against auto insurance reform when we pay the highest rate in America? I mean, that's the most craziest thing ever.
Yeah. What's really confusing to a lot of people, I think, is that sometimes there's a fine line between liberal and conservative.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and you can take.
Do you agree or disagree?
Sometimes there is.
Do you agree?
Depending on what you're talking about, and
there's a
on the
fine
topic,
line when it comes to certain topics.
Yes, certain topics.
We don't mind
certain topics.
I want the competition.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely, yeah.
My audience talking so loud, we got to bring them on the show too.
Yeah, absolutely.
They're louder than me, and I can't hear.
Yeah, there's a fine line when it comes to certain topics. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? But for the most part, I mean, we're definitely different when it comes to certain things because, again, like I said, we're more traditional, we're conservative, holding on to traditional values and beliefs that we were raised with. But when it comes to certain topics, I will say that there's a fine line with that because you did have some Republicans that also voted against auto no-fault.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
So then we start scratching our heads like,
let's
wait
talk
a minute.
about things that's relevant to us.
Yeah.
So when we deal with relevant, we're looking at Terrence Todd, born and raised here, African-American, counselor. He's a Republican. Principal.
Yeah.
He was a principal.
A lot of people think I was a counselor.
Now, as a principal, born and raised here, et cetera, then he becomes a Republican. The myth is he sold out. The myth is he went over to the white side. That's why we're here to discuss these subjects because that's not what he's saying. But sometimes it's your responsibility to help educate that next generation. Mm-hmm. I'm not endorsing either side. I like to give you a chance because I think everybody should have a right to choice.
Absolutely.
Because the truth of the matter is, from my perspective, it never mattered who was in the office.
Mm-hmm. I didn't
care if a Democrat was in office. I didn't care if a Republican was in office. I didn't care if a libertarian was in office. Mm-hmm. I'm going to handle business. But I like to hear what you're saying. So I'm going back to what's the big topic today? The judge. He's a Republican.
Democratic.
Okay, he's a Republican.
The judge?
Well, they're nonpartisan, so you can't say they're a judge.
Right.
However,
he leans right.
He leans right.
Correct.
And all the Republicans have in that department, the judicial department, whoever are the folks that makes that decision, has passed him on to be nominated as the Supreme Court Justice, the highest justice in the country. So now, we're listening to our man Terrence, our spiritual nephew. Love him to death. We'll support him tomorrow. Me personally, if he ran for any position, I will vote for him tomorrow. However, he's talking about a judge that we may feel like should not be nominated because his behavior is no different from all the allegations they said about Mr. Cosby and everybody else. Straight, do y'all need to come on the show? They come on next. Give them a mic so they come on the show. because they talking real loud. We're gonna call their names out in a minute. Okay, let them come on. So back
in the cut.
back to my question is,
Yeah.
talk to me about that, because as a Republican, we're like, wait a minute. Republicans seem like they kind of like, you know, I don't want to say two-faced it. That's why I don't get into politics. I vote for who I want. You know, I'm supporting Biden big time.
Yeah, no doubt.
But back to the judge. What's your thought about that? Can you respond as an individual and then respond as you're actually what, the fifth highest office or the third highest office in the state?
Third.
You're the third. He's the third highest ranking office in the Republican Party for the state of Michigan. And I salute that. I think that's a great accomplishment, and I definitely do not look down on that at all. But how you think about that judge? And I'm going to look at this platform while we're doing that.
Well, Bishop, let me say this, because you asked if I would speak as an individual. I'm always speak that.
Okay,
You know
got
what
you.
I mean?
Got
I'm
you.
always speak as an individual anyway. I mean, because it's really, for me, it's people over politics. In regards to the whole judge thing and whatnot, these accusations and whatnot, it's the same as Cosby. I think, for the most part, I think he got railroaded for the most part. I think, you let the FBI go ahead and do their thing to investigate.
You think the judge has been railroaded?
No, I'm talking about Cosby.
No, we ain't talking about Cosby.
Oh, okay.
I'm talking about the judge.
Well, in the case of, I was separating the two. I was kind of,
okay.
Because you had mentioned Bill
Yeah, but
Cosby.
Cosby, he's going to jail.
Which is kind of really messed up.
I want to know about what you think about the judge.
Well, the judge, I think, will let the FBI decide. Once they do their investigation. No, for real. I mean, you got to investigate
like
him, and
that.
if he's,
I respect that too.
If something's found out, because that's exactly what the Dems wanted. They wanted a FBI investigation. Now they want to come out and say, well, we don't think there should be any time limits. Well, why not? Why did you all hold on or sit on this, and you had the information back in July? As a matter of fact, this gentleman actually served in the second highest court of the land. Was he? I mean, if that took place back in high school, was he more qualified for that than he is the Supreme? I mean, because in my personal opinion, if he doesn't qualify for the Supreme Court, he never qualified for the second highest courts in the land either. But why would you take this information and hold on to that up until he was getting ready to be obviously voted on to be the next Supreme Court justice? That's my issue. And see, that's the hypocrisy of it all. And then I actually just saw, her, the Blasey Ford. I saw her testimony today. As a matter of fact, she even made clear that Feinstein had mentioned that she was going to hold on to this information up until it was time to take a vote on it, so that way she can halt everything that they were going to do. This just happened today. I saw that information. So.
If you all can give me the Republican platform, thank you for this information. I want y'all to hear the Republican platform. I'm about to read the Democrats' platform.
Now, those platforms are pages long.
Okay, now I just want to read the first part.
Gotcha.
And I have to be honest, when I was in politics, I never knew about this platform. Mr. Todd said he didn't know about that first neither.
Yeah.
So that's one thing they don't teach you. But
No.
first sentence says, we believe a good education is a basic right of all Americans, no matter what zip code they live in. We will end the school to prison pipeline and build a cradle to college pipeline instead, where every child can live up to his or her God-given potential. So that's the Dems or the Democrats. That's what they said. And in the end part, they said, we believe in protecting civil liberties, guarantee civil rights, voting rights, women rights, workers' rights, LGBT rights, and rights for people with disabilities. We believe America is still, as Robert Kennedy said, a great country and unselfish country and a compassionate country. So if I can get something from the Republicans, that would be great. I want to kind of hear your platform also, so we can go to the next level. But that was good information to have that knowledge, because when they stand and represent us, at least you know. I did get something in the list where there's organization that, like, for an example, support the
LBGT.
GT.
Q.
Or whatever other letters.
Okay, and I did see it in the article recently where it said, unless you support this group, your name will not be nominated. We will not endorse you. And we did see Hosmer's name on that list.
Yeah.
So I think that's for all Democrats. If you are a Democrat, and if you're going to receive that type of support, then you have to be a supporter of the LBGTQ, something like that organization. Okay.
And their cause and their platform.
And their cause and their platform.
Yeah, so
now let me speak on that, because we deal with touchy issues. I have a member of my family that's gay. And I think everybody in this room, if they be honest, they got somebody that's gay or lesbian. What the B stand for?
Bisexual.
Bisexual.
Oh, so you got a lot of children bisexual. Real young. See, we got a problem. We got kids doing that mess. Somebody kid could be like that. You don't know any difference. So you got the okay. So L lesbian, G gay, B bi. What's the other letter?
T.
What T stand for?
Transgender.
The people who change their nature. Is that what a trans?
Or trans really identifies themselves with another sex.
Okay, so as a man, I could say,
that's right.
I feel like being a female.
That's right.
And what's the other name y'all said?
Q.
What's Q stand for?
Queer.
Queer. See, I thought that was a bad name to even say.
Well,
what is queer, y'all?
I don't know. I don't know if you just whatever floats your boat. I don't know.
What's queer?
Well, there's somebody who is all the above, I guess.
Could be.
I don't know, but Q is
Just
part
a
of
whole
that.
buffet, huh?
Q is part of that acronym now.
Yeah.
Hey, y'all, take me off the camera when you're smiling. I don't want nobody mad at me. Just kidding. Okay, so I guess my point is, but this is where I'm at on that. And this laughing, I'm not making fun of that. I'm not making fun of you neither. I'm serious about that. I'm very serious about that. I'm a firm believer that those behaviors, whether it's fornication, adultery, lying, murder, stealing, we all got some issues. I think somebody, when you say you born that way, that may be my only issue I may have with this whole issue. But if you're going down that road, I believe there's been a lot of pain in your life. I believe you've been hurt. I believe somebody done something they shouldn't have done. And I would love to minister to all of them. I don't know if that would disqualify me if I was a Republican. Because I'm asking that question.
No.
Because in my heart, I want them all. Because I believe the love of God has the power to change them. And so now, when I say I support the cause, I don't want you and your wife at a restaurant busting slob with me and my child here.
Yeah.
So if I don't want you and your wife, which is heterosexual, if I say I want two dudes busting slob, I feel the same way.
Feel the same way, absolutely.
It has nothing to do with me disagreeing with your life, but what you do in your closet,
that's right.
That's your closet. But when you come out and try to put that on us, that's only the time I got to struggle with it.
You know, Bishop, I'm glad you said that.
So I don't know if that makes me a Democrat or a Republican. I think that just makes me me.
Yeah. Well, let me say this too, man. I mean,
what that make you, man?
What?
What's your feeling about all that? As a Democrat, as a Republican, you guys are saying, I mean, sometimes we get the impression that Republicans are trying to destroy them.
Well, that's what I'm getting ready to say.
Okay.
There's a movement called #WalkAway.
#WalkAway.
#WalkAway. Check it out. These are individuals who are walking away from the Democrat Party because of the recent things that's been going on in the Democrat Party. But keep this in mind: the person who started that is openly gay. You know what I mean?
The one who started walking away was
the
openly gay.
#WalkAway, he's gay. As a matter of fact, our Republican district chair is openly gay. So
you're a Republican.
Absolutely.
Oh,
absolutely.
So you do have gays in the Republican Party.
Absolutely do.
Okay.
Absolutely do. Because they're conservative. You know what I mean? They believe in less taxes and stuff like that. They believe in less government getting involved in your affairs and stuff like that. So I mean, you know, so it's not.
You know, you confused me. I didn't know conservatives could be gay.
There's that line.
There's
that line.
That's right. Y'all too mixing, man.
That's
y'all
right.
mixing
That's
up
right.
on me, Terrence.
So well, put it this way.
Even though Dick Cheney's daughter was gay.
Yeah. Yep.
And he was the vice president.
Well, see, but you have okay. When we talk about conservative, there are different categories of conservatism too.
Okay, gotcha.
So you have constitutional conservatives, those who are hard line with the Constitution.
On the Constitution,
You have fiscal conservatives. You have Christian conservatives.
Okay.
You know, you have conservatism all over. The Tea Party folks are real hard-nosed conservatives. You know what I mean?
Okay.
They don't believe in having no wiggle room anywhere. If the Word of God says it, that's what it is. You know. So you have different views or different parts of conservatism.
Gotcha.
All right.
Okay, okay.
So it's not just one big umbrella saying, well, we're all conservative. Well, we're conservative in some areas. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So that's what that is, Bishop. So, but we do we're known to be the party with the Big Ten. In other words, come one, come all. But this is our platform. This is what we believe in. This is what we value. Now, the gentleman who actually started the hashtag Walk Away movement, he was saying even, his issue, or a lot of the LGBTQ community's issue is that when, for example, when the folks was trying to get married and they went to sue those pastors who refused to marry them out west, they were like, well, wait a minute, who is government to decide, or who is government to force someone to go against what they believe, what they value? Because they understand that if government is given that much authority in a person's life, then it won't be long before they be coming into the LGBTQ community and telling them how they need to live their lives. You know what I mean? To go against something they truly believe and they value. So that's the issue at the core. Is that when we talk about less government, we having less government being involved in our everyday life, trying to tell us what to do and how to live our lives.
So give us a brief.
Get a lot of
give us a brief idea about the governors that's running. Educate us from your perspective. Throw out some key points, key bullets. You become our political analyst.
Gotcha.
Give us briefly about the young lady that's running for the Democrat governor. Give us a brief info about the man that's running for the Republican governor.
I'll say this, Bill Schuette, he's solid. Even though he's come under great scrutiny, he's known to be kind of like a Republican part of the establishment, if you will. But Bill Schuette he's a solid guy. I mean, I know him personally. I know what he values. He's all about putting more money in people's pocket, reducing our taxes, stuff like that. He's also garnered a lot of support on the east side of the state. As a matter of fact, he's met with African-American business owners over there. He's gotten endorsed by African-American pastors over there in Detroit. A matter of fact, one of them is from a Little Rock Historic Baptist Church, Reverend Holly, which my family goes to, attends that ministry. So he's gaining momentum from that regard. As a matter of fact, Bill Schuette also, people don't kind of talk about this, but when it came down to the Flint water issue, it was Attorney General Bill Schuette that literally started putting some of those folks on the stand to have to testify. And he came under great scrutiny for that because some of them were Republican folks that were in Snyder's, leadership, and some of them were Democrats too that were from Flint and stuff like that. So it was Bill Schuette that actually had done that. Gretchen Whitmer, I don't know too much about her, man. When I was a Dem, I heard her name periodically. As a matter of fact, when Mark Schauer ran for governor, she was one of the names that had come to the forefront, but when she found out that Schauer was running, she backed off. And so Schauer said, flat out that he was the only one that had guts enough to run, But now that the governor's getting out of the way, the seat is going to be open. Now you see Whitmer kind of arising now. So if I were to stack my chips, I'm going with Schuette. You know what I mean? Because I know him fairly well enough to know that he values the same things that I value. And also, I had conversation recently with Schuette's team to continue this movement, as well as Dave Morgan and Bizon and stuff like that, because Bizon we actually started it, and Dave Morgan's looking to carry it out, but to begin an African-American commission that has direct access to the governor's office with our issues. So it'll be a 15-member commission, which actually gets representatives in the African-American community from whether it be Battle Creek, Benton Harbor, Detroit, Saginaw, Flint, or whatever, to represent on this commission that has direct line access to the governor's office to talk about our issues and how to resolve our issues across the state. So these are agendas that they're going to be pushing.
Gotcha. Is there anyone in the audience that want to ask Mr. Todd a question? Because you got a chance to get him to respond to you. And I'm serious. Anyone that want to ask, I won't acknowledge your name, but I will repeat the question. Anyone want to ask him a question? This is a good time to do that. Anyone want to ask Mr. Todd a question? Okay, back to you. Back to you, co-host. What's your thought about if you follow anything about the Republican and the female that's running for Democrat and the Republican that's running for the governor position? Have you done any type of look into it?
All I know is what I see, and I see some of the ads on TV, like Gretchen Whitmer. There's a negative ad out there right now about her and the roads in Battle Creek when she was with Governor Granholm. I mean, you see that, and then Bill Schuette, there's a negative ad out there about him when it came to the Flint water crisis, that he didn't react until he thought his seat was in jeopardy. So all I know is what I hear and what I see. But if I really want to dig down deep and find out about these individuals, I can do the research.
Okay.
I kind of like what Tara said. There were some things I didn't know about Bill Schuette that you said. I had no idea. But with people who all they know is what they see on TV, that's what they're going to go with.
So now, as a pastor, I have a congregation. I have a city of people who I want to help. I care less about any of those names until those names can fix a problem.
Correct.
My question becomes, what can these men and these women do to benefit everyday issues? Because my attitude is, if they can't do nothing, I don't even care about voting. I'm speaking for other people.
Absolutely.
I'm not speaking from Bishop Tino Smith's perspective.
Absolutely.
Why waste my time and go vote and I still can't pay my gas bill?
That's right.
Why waste my time and go vote and somebody shot my son and y'all know who shot my son and I can't get no justice? Why waste my time and I'm still struggling?
Yeah.
I want to know, because the truth is, why even get into this game when y'all gonna just come to the community, y'all gonna smile, y'all gonna kiss our babies and leave?
Yeah.
Why we do what we do? That's something people want to know, and we're asking you today.
Bishop, one of the things that I've learned as far as the political process, a lot of it is based on emotion. So like when Deacon was saying about there's negative ads here, there's negative ads here, there's an ad there, keep in mind sometimes those ads don't come from those individuals.
Okay.
They come from a lot of the people that are backing them, or the organizations and whatnot, lobbyists or special interests, whatever. So I just wanted to make that clear, that sometimes those negative ads do not come from the individual, all right? The reason why I think it's very important to still at least get involved is one of the things that we live in a time now where people don't want to do the research. I mean, like, for example, they don't want to read, they don't want to do the research, or they don't want to trust people who are involved in it that could give them a pretty fair shake at what's really happening and who they should be supporting and that kind of a thing, which kind of concerns me, because it's like, if you're not in this thing, then you won't know. And so so if I were to give any I guess recommendation or strong I guess advice, would be to just ask people who do know these individuals, who have sat with these individuals, to talk about what their agendas are, and then we can go from there. As far as, like, again, Bill Schuette being a paycheck guy, being a paycheck state, a job state, and stuff like that. Sit down with people who really know and who has actually sat at the table with these individuals. And you mentioned about, and I'm glad you mentioned that, about, my son just got shot, that kind of thing, because I'm actually in conversation now, myself and Dave Morgan, with Tom Leonard, because, he's running for Attorney General. He's the Speaker of the House right now, and I was actually trying to organize a time for him to come down and sit and talk with these parents, with these families, about what it is that we can do from a legislative standpoint, or even from a supporting standpoint, to bring money or resources. I know you had talked about bringing resources to this community to help get more detectives on the job, to do investigations and stuff like that, to bring some kind of resolve. So that's in the works too. I just didn't want to share that until I knew for sure, but those conversations are being had, so that way people can actually have one-on-one and ask these people questions themselves. So getting them to the table is very important. But again, if I were to give advice, Bishop, I would say they need to do a little bit more research. Find out what these people have done up until now. Don't just wait until election time to say, hey, because I've seen this person at the table, because we know that everyone who sits at the table is not for you. You know what I mean? And, all you got to do is ask Jesus. Everybody got a Judas, man. You know what I mean? And so I would say do more research. Find out what these people have done up until this point before they ran, instead of, just because they showed up at a meeting for 2 minutes and then they left out, or maybe gave you a donation. That doesn't qualify them to go to Lansing or D.C. on our behalf. Find out their resume, find out what they're committed to, find out, just see if they got fruit on the tree, and then make your judgment from there. Or ask somebody who knows if they have fruit or not. Because I'm going to be honest with you, just because you're Republican, that doesn't mean I'm going to back you. You know what I mean? That's just it. Because if you're not good, if you have not good intentions for our community, then I can't consciously support an individual like that.
So let me ask you this. As our political analysis, who's representing our community, and I value your opinion. Is that 10 minutes, y'all? 15. Okay, 10. And I value your opinion.
Okay.
There's a term we use called quid pro quo. Basically, it means you scratch my back, I scratch your back. Basically, that's a political term. That's a reality.
Correct.
We got two individuals about to come on a debate. They're running for the 62nd district.
That's right.
Part of my endorsement is I write them a check.
That's it.
All right?
Yeah.
Many times we as a community advisors, we want everybody to do something, but the reality is you got to write a check. You cannot say you support a candidate and not willing to put any money in their account. At the same time, you should expect something.
That's right.
That's just how politics works.
That's right.
So, you being our political analysis, we got Dave Morgan.
That's right.
And we have
Jim Hosmer.
We already kind of know Bison is kind of going to win his seat. We believe that. Before we endorse somebody, now you are just speaking to us as one of our community liaison.
Okay.
Why would why would Morgan or why would Hosman be better for the things you see us trying to do in the city of Battle Creek? Talk to me.
I'm glad you said that. Well, I'm supporting Dave Morgan 100%. And here's the reason why I say that, Bishop, is even when Dave and I were Dems, all right, I would still be saying the same thing, and that's the God's honest truth. So I'm not just saying this now because we done shifted. There's a reason why we shifted. When you talk about getting things done, when you're talking about our agenda, I would back him 100%. Why? Because, first of all, Dave Morgan is not part of no political establishment. He's going to tell you how it is. He's a straight shooter. He's born and raised here. He was a coach. He's backed by the International Brotherhood of Teamsters. He's backed by big business, Michigan Chamber of Commerce. He's been known to be the person to actually bring the community and people together. Now,
but he is the superintendent. I'm not superintendent. He is the
absolutely. He's the supervisor.
Supervisor. So how is that not a part of the establishment?
Well, he just got voted in. He's not a part of no actual establishment. In other words, he does not have.
How long he been?
Just 2 years. Just
okay,
2 years.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So he literally just recently got voted in 2016.
Okay.
And so Dave Morgan also, people don't know this too, but he's the former Democrat Party chair for Calhoun County. You know what I mean? So Dave is the guy that's more balanced, if you will. Dave has appealed to the labor unions. Why? Because he's one of them. He's also appealed to the business community. Why? Because he's a businessman too. So when the Teamsters show up and they say, hey, we don't know if this has ever happened before where big labor and big business have actually gotten behind someone to support one particular candidate. I'm saying, okay, that's good, and people need to take note of that. But I think take it a step further when we talk about our agenda and the support for our agenda that we're looking for in the community. I would say Dave Morgan is on top of that 100%. Dave actually has come to me about particular things in this community that I'll let him share for himself, but that really impressed me. Jim Hosmer, he sat next to me for 6 out of his 8 years on the county board. I'm still to this day trying to figure out what has Jim Hosmer actually done. Me personally, Jim represents an establishment of people, Mark Showers and stuff like that. He's going to do exactly what they tell him to do. Now, he can come off and say that, well, when I get to Lansing, it's going to be this way. No. I beg to differ, because in my case, when he had the opportunity to back me, he didn't stand for what was right. So now he comes on the show and says, well, because of my 8 years on the county board, that qualifies me to go to the state. Well, Jim, I did 10 years. Why didn't you come out and endorse me? Because he knew the establishment was backing someone else. So Jim is too silent on things. You know what I'm saying? Jim Hosmer is silent on things that matter. Dave Morgan will not be. Dave Morgan will call you on the carpet. I'm telling you, man, he's a straight shooter. He's the guy that we need to support and get behind 100%.
Dig it. How you feel about that?
To me, there's no comparison.
Well, you know, Terrace is speaking truth, and I know Dave personally. And I just met Jim when he was on the show a few weeks ago. And, you know, when it all comes down to it, if I was to cast my vote tomorrow, I'd probably end up voting for Dave Morgan, because Dave has always shared what he thinks and his views, and he's been to the campus. We talked about a week or so ago briefly, and I ran into him at a gas station, so there's no question about who Dave Morgan is. It's all over his car. You know?
Well, y'all hear from the deacon. I haven't made my endorsement yet, so I'm not saying, but you've heard the deacon and you've heard
he's solid.
Reverend Todd. They are voting for Dave Morgan. I'm not going to make
Dave Morgan is in favor of what we're doing at Kingdom Builders.
Absolutely.
I'm not going to endorse anyone yet until we hear the debate. I want to know what my check going to do.
Can I say
That's
something?
all I want to know.
Can I say something else too, Bishop?
Digging. I want to know what my check going to do.
You're right. And you should.
And you should.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
I want to know what the check going to do.
Absolutely.
Will this check help fix our problem?
I guarantee you it won't come back insufficient funds. I guarantee you that. I guarantee you that.
So we got 5 minutes. So just for the sake of it, I need to know, what do a 62nd district make a year?
They make about $71,000 a year, a little over $71,000 a year. Not a whole lot when you consider all the stuff they got to do.
That's pretty good.
As far as the yeah, that's pretty good. No, you know, that's not light at all. You think about running, man. I mean, that's not shabby, but I mean, when you consider, to be honest with you though, Bishop, when you consider the amount of heat and pressure that they take, it's a lot to it, man. I mean, you know, it is a lot.
It's no more, ain't no person like the pastor.
Oh, no, sure ain't. No, yeah, I agree with you on that. I agree with you.
No. Well, look, we are excited about what we heard
agree with you
today.
on that one.
You had a lot of folks in the audience that really had something to say. Maybe after we turn off the lights and the cameras, they may talk.
This audience here.
This audience.
A lot of viewers just listen.
This side here,
Okay, gotcha.
they was doing a lot of whispering, but we ain't
Educational,
gonna call the
educational
names.
show.
But I think they had a lot
think
to
you
say.
educated a lot of people
Listen,
today.
we thank you for coming on the show again. This was no endorsement from this kitchen table. We are going to have both of them come on the show. We always celebrate Terrence Todd. We hope that Terrence Todd will eventually not just be an officer. We hope he decides to run so we can really have somebody who we really know in our corner. Not to say everyone else would not be in our corner, but we would love to have Terrence Todd. So we hope and pray that maybe in the next 2 years, Terrence Todd will consider putting his name in the race. And I will promise you, 100%, I will endorse and support him the day he announced his candidacy. Until then, I got to wait and see what my check is going to do before I cast my vote for anybody, because lives are important to me.
Yes, sir.
Folks are dying. People are hungry.
Yep.
People can't pay their bills. Light bills are due. Families in trouble. Kids getting kicked out of school for 160 days.
Yep.
I got a real problem. So you having an office means absolutely nothing to Bishop Smith. I need you to help solve these problems. So I hope and pray that's what the politicians do. You don't just care about the government, you care about the people.
That's right.
I'm not going to fight about who's gay, who's not gay. Human beings need to be treated
That's right.
with integrity, fairness, and honesty. I always end the show by acknowledging my ancestors, my mother's side of the family. Always acknowledge Lil Del Perry Sr. and also Ruby Elizabeth Perry. They're both gone on now, but my beloved mom is still here, Georgia Lee Howard Perry. Also, on my father's side, Gussie Smith and Edward West Smith. Both gone, and of course my main man, my father, gone on to Hugh Daniel Smith Sr. I acknowledge all of them, and I continue to remember it's your shoulders I'm on top of, and that's why I stand today. Let's pray. One day, man, I hope you get to the next level, brother, for you. Father, thank you for the show. Thank you for those that made this show possible. Thank you for the camera crew. Thank you for the young lady on Facebook. Thank you for those in the studio. Thank you for the audience. Thank you for the people. Because people is what this is all about.
Yes, sir.
This is our prayer, God. Bless the city of Battle Creek. Thank you for our audience. Thank you for listening. And thank you for supporting. Thank you. This is our prayer. And Mr. Melvin Evans, happy birthday to you as you enjoy your great celebration. In Jesus' name, amen.
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 AccessVision. Your voice, your community.